Hi, everybody. Welcome to class this week, and hello from Korea. So, just at the hotel here, just a beautiful morning, sunny spring day. It was fairly cool last night, very windy, but looking forward. Just going to head out shopping in a little bit, but wanted to record a class while I'm here. I just love Korea so much. They're just right downtown. You can see the river from here, just from the hotel room. And hopefully soon enough, if I'm lucky, I'll be back. We'll be able to see some of the cherry blossoms here, which I love so much. Although to be fair, Vancouver is, I think, one of the best cherry blossom capitals of the world right now for springtime, and that's always been one of my maybe past lives in Japan. It's just such a deep sensibility of mine to really enjoy all the spring flowers, blossoms, and even the magnolia trees that you get in Vancouver. So we're starting a new class. I don't know how long it's going to take. I'm probably going to shoot for somewhere around 10 classes or so. Again, there's always the initial wish or intention to keep the classes fairly short. The last course that we did looking at the two truths was, to be honest, I don't want to do that again. We're just basically sit there and talk for about an hour and not do much meditation. But I just felt that there was a lot of content in that. I didn't want the course to run too long because I wanted to get into this one and maybe some basic introduction to Tantra. So just time-wise and so forth, I kind of didn't want to get bogged down on the Two Truths debate course. So the most part, I thought it was a little bit more me talking, maybe a little bit more intellectual than some people might like or even find helpful. But stand by the work. I think it was great, and I do recommend people read that book, which I thought was so amazing, and continue to just sort of self-educate on the different views of emptiness. You know, if you're so interested in the Tibetan tradition, the sort of Rantong and Shentong sort of divide or two views on emptiness or the two truths. In other words, emptiness of self and emptiness of other. The class that we're doing right now, or course I should say, that we're going to start today, will be sort of the one of the final classes that I'd like to, at least for now, on sort of sutric work and sort of before we get into an introduction to Tantra. And this is in the Asian Classics Institute set of courses, course number 15, I think, what the Buddha really meant or what he really taught. And it is, Geshe Michael, it's about a 10 class course if you want to go on and follow the old class that we all did. Geshe Michael, I just did it online with the old dial-up internet about 25 years ago when it first came online back in the day. And it's a fabulous class. And it was a real introduction to a book that I bought maybe the 1990s that I would like to be so use these two sources as sort of the background or the content or the class notes and information material for this course. That, of course, being ACI course number 15, and Robert Thurman's book called Central Philosophy of Tibet, which I'll sort of break into next class. I'll show everybody the book and so forth. That was, I think, I'll have to look. I want to say that might have been his PhD thesis that he ended up making into a book before he was teaching at Amherst University and then eventually at Columbia. But it was, I think, the first translation into English of Je Tsongkhapa, founder, a great saint of our Gelugpa tradition, masterwork, or one of his great works, which is Essence of Eloquence. And that's what we're going to look at right now. So this is sort of a late work by him, from what I believe. And again, it's a understanding of emptiness and correct view, and just how, basically, in the end, how to approach Buddhism as a whole. And I know at one point I might have read, anyway, half of that book is an incredible introduction from Robert Thurman. The other half's the actual text. I have to confess, I only got maybe 2/3 of the way through the book when I first bought it about 25 years ago. So I'm really happy to sort of work through it. Although again, it's going to be more of an introduction. I urge people just to sort of do their own research and work on the book, buying and into classes on this. Like I say, taking the ACI course and so forth. But it's a very difficult book that a lot of people don't study, even in in the Geshe program or whatever. Like a lot of times people don't get the transmission and do the work, from what I understand, and they call it like the steel bow, like a bow and arrow in the sense of made out of steel, that if it's so hard to pull, but if you pull it, it's just kind of like a high-powered rifle or nuclear bomb or something. It's just like explosive. So in other words, if you can sort of get through the difficult text and understanding the transmission from teachers and work through it, although it's very, very difficult, the payoff is enormous and transformative. So we'll try and do a little bit, like, and do the best we can with it. And again, with all the courses that I've done with this online here in the video, if it makes you want to study more and read more and meditate more on this material, then I've sort of succeeded. So if this introduces you to the text and gets you to want to study more and read more, then that's just fantastic. So that's what I like to do. I'd also like to add that my teacher, Lama Ben Christian, has a whole course on it that I just listened to it on Patreon, and so he's been teaching it in Australia, and has put the courses up line. I'm going to give you in the description here just the link to the Patreon account. It should be on there. It's also, he has a YouTube channel as well. But again, if you want more information or something, just you can please send him an email and do it. I really urge you to take that course with him and to listen to it. He's a far better teacher than me. It is absolutely wonderfully presented, and there's a lot of material. He's taught that a number of times before, and I was deeply moved, deeply impressed. I learned a lot. So I just pointing you, that's kind of the professional, unless you go with Lama or Geshe, this is kind of, he's kind of the NHL player, and I'm kind of like the local skid team, ball hockey on the street kind of guy, working at this a little bit. So I'll do the best I can. But at the same time, there is, at least in Robert Thurman's book, a good deal of references to Western philosophy, in particular to the work of Ludwig Wittgenstein, who happens to be my favorite philosopher. I've got a number of favorite philosophers, but he's consistently been my favorite over the last, since I started studying philosophy, and maybe when I was in high school, actually about 16 years old. And he really says that if you read Essence of Eloquence, it's kind of trying to get with what Je Tsongkhapa is saying. It's very close. That's his claim. And I think there's some good evidence for it to Wittgenstein's later work, what you get in philosophical investigations, let's say. So I've studied a lot of Wittgenstein, both when I was in grad school and just personally on my own, reading his books over since the late 1980s. And so I'd like to sort of bring a few thoughts in that, just to sort of compare and contrast the two. And Wittgenstein always says that real philosophy isn't just ethical, but therapeutic. And so I think that's sort of the point that Je Tsongkhapa is, of course, as a Buddhist, really getting through with his philosophy is, what is the art of interpretation? What did the Buddha really taught? How do we actually understand Buddhism as a whole? What do we mean when we talk about being a Buddhist? How do we approach the teachings? How do we know that they're true? What does it mean that they're true? You'll see it's a distinction Je Tsongkhapa wants to look at it in terms of what's literal and what's figurative or symbolic, metaphorical, anything. So if you've done any work in philosophy of religion or theology or religion in general, or you go to Sunday school or you go to the synagogue or anything else, or just even on your own, this is a huge issue that you have with religion in general, is just, how do I know that this is true? How do I know what's true in this? Even if I think it's a true religion, is everything in the religion true in the holy books? Does it all apply? If I find inconsistencies, self-contradictions, incoherencies, and so forth, how am I supposed to understand those? What's true, what's not? How do I interpret things? What's the they call strategies of translation? How do I translate things? What's the original religion? What's the religion that I get all these years later? Is it more true than it used to be? Was it true in the beginning and now it's false, or that it's changed, or so forth? So you see that this is a huge issue, And this is why you train to be a priest or a mullah or a rabbi, or you train to be a healer or a shaman or anything else, is doing this kind of work. And you can see in the Abrahamic traditions, the Semitic traditions, a huge issue is just learning how to understand, let's say, the Bible and laws. How do I interpret laws? How do I translate them? If I'm learning to be a rabbi and I'm studying the Torah and the Talmud, like what are all the commentaries on commentaries on commentaries to understand these things? Because it's not clear. Religion isn't clear. So we'll see. Alexander Berzin, great Tibetan Buddhist teacher and scholar, as you may know, his root teacher was His Holiness Serkong Sensei Rinpoche, who was one of the debate partners of His Holy Dalai Lama, and the son of one of the greatest Gelugpa masters of the 20th century, His Holiness Serkong Dorje Chang. And I've always remembered, it's on his website. You can see on his Alexander Berzin's website, it might be, he has a biography of His Holiness Serkong Rinpoche. So it might be there. I can't remember where I read it, where he said, why is it? I've always remembered this. It's beautiful. When you really get down to studying Buddhism and you're really studying the Kangyur, the Tager, all the sort of sutras, the three baskets, so to speak, Abhidharma, the Vinaya, and the sutras and so forth, whether you're studying Theravada Buddhism or Vajrayana Buddhism or different kinds of Mahayana Buddhism, and you're looking at all the material, all the different books on Buddhism, as always, like any religion, there's a lot of confusions and inconsistencies and even self-contradictions and ambiguities and everything else, like every religion, like every philosophy. And so Serkong Rinpoche said to Alexander Berzin, who was studying to be a scholar and this and that, and he said, well, the deeper you get, kind of the more confusing it gets. Like superficially, it all makes sense. But when you start going deeper, in particular, let's say, like even when we were looking at the Two Truths debate, you have these two major masters of Tibetan philosophy and so forth, Tsongkhapa and Gorampa, and you see how even though they're enlightened and masters in their own traditions, Buddha tradition, Sakya tradition, they actually disagree on some big important issues, not little issues, but big issues. And then it's the issue is, well, who's right? What does it mean to be right? What does it mean to be wrong? How consistent are they with one another or even amongst themselves? So it's difficult things. So Serkong Rinpoche said, if Buddhists are omniscient and all they want to do is help you get enlightened and see ultimate truth of reality, emptiness, why would they write, or even these great masters, great saints, men and women teachers throughout the years, why would they make mistakes in the books? Why would they contradict each other? Why would they self-contradict? Why would there be inconsistencies in their work? Why would they change views over time? Why would you have like the two great second Buddhas, like Arya Nagarjuna, Arya Sangha, really in some ways promote different works? Like, can't it be consistent? Like, why didn't the Buddha just have a little fortune cookie thing or a little post-it note or a little meme, like this is emptiness, and then everyone's consistent. Everyone's just saying this and that. How do you know what's true? How do you know who to believe? Which lineage? Like if I study in Zen, they say one thing, Theravada Buddhism in Burma might say another. Different even in Tibetan Buddhism, which compared to other traditions, you think, well, it's all the same thing. And yet these different traditions and lineages, which can really vary in terms of their theory and practice. How do I know who's right? So Dalai Lama says one thing, another Lama says another, some Zen master says another, some Thai monk that you love says another, and just like, well, how do I know who to believe? How do I know who to trust? And so Serkong Rinpoche said, well, why did the Buddhists do this? Why did all the Buddhist bodhisattvas and enlightened saints do this? They're not on point. They're not sticking to the message. What's the problem? And he said, it's beautiful. I mean, I love it. He just said, they didn't have to do this. Why did they do this? They want you to put the work in. They want you to figure it out. Ultimately, you are your own master. You are your own refuge. You are your liberator. If they were the liberators or the ones that make you enlightened, they would have done it already. They just like wave a magic wand or press a button or something and everyone would go to heaven, so to speak. So you have to do this yourself. And by making it tough, you have to do the work. You have to do your own investigations. You have to make your own judgments and come to your own conclusions. And in the end, we'll see that that's, I would argue, kind of like Kierkegaard's concluding unscientific postscript kind of thing, like this is the big message you get with Tsongkhapa's work. And it's not an insignificant message. Rather than saying, oh, this is the truth, it's what does it mean to actually, oh, I have to interpret things for myself. I have to do the work myself. I have to have that systematic doubt and practice and learning and self-education. But when you think about that, any great religion or philosophy, any great teacher should encourage you to teach yourself, to liberate you from them and from yourself. Like Nietzsche says, like a student does his teacher an ultimate disservice by staying a student forever, right? It's a similar kind of thing here. So I just giving that as a bit of a preface here. And so this is what this book, I would argue in a lot of ways, in the big picture is about. And that's why I wanted to end this with this course before we get into Tantra, because Tantra, like as a my precious teacher, and Buddha in person always says, Tantra is not logical. It's not about figuring out analytically. It's all based on faith or confidence, right? Or belief. That's all it's about. So you have to get past the point of letting go of all these kind of intellectual concerns, which means you have to be not dogmatic and fundamentalist, but quite the other way of just being completely open and open-minded with yourself, your teachers, and what happens, to surrender your ego that way and let go of everything, letting go of Buddhism itself, so to speak, and sort of a wide idea in terms of letting go of it being sort of a dogma or a doctrine or some kind of fundamentalist creed. You have to let go of all those things. So you have to get to that point. That's why this stuff's always taught kind of at the end of your intellectual sutric self-education, like the end of your Kempo or Geshe degree. You get all this stuff, Madhyamika Prasangika or Art of Interpretation. This is what the Buddha really taught us, like, oh, why didn't you tell me this at the beginning? Why don't I learn kind of like Heideggerian or Derridian deconstruction right from the beginning, save myself all the time? Because you don't know what you're deconstructing. You don't know, you have to know what to let go first before you let go. Otherwise, you're not really letting go. Okay, so that's the preface. Let's just start with a very short meditation and then we will conclude for the week, starting with the Heart Sutra here. Homage to perfection, wisdom, the Blessed Mother. Thus I've heard at one time the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgir in Mass Vulture's Mountain together, a great assembly of monks and nuns and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. That time the Blessed One was absorbed in the concentration of countless aspects of phenomena called profound illumination. That time also Superior Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva of the great being, was looking perfectly the prize of profound perfection of wisdom, looking perfectly also the five aggregates being empty of inherent existence. Then through the power of Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Superior Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva of the great being, how should a son of the lineage train who wishes to gauge the prize of profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and Superior Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva of the great being, replied to Venerable Shariputra as follows. Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of the lineage wishes to engage in prize of profound perfection of wisdom should look perfectly like this. Subsequently, looking perfectly and correctly also the five aggregates being empty of inherent existence. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is none other than form is none other than emptiness. Likewise, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, that all phenomena are empty as having no characteristics. They are not produced and do not cease. They have no defilement, no separation from defilement, no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, and no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mentality, no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no tactile object, no phenomenon. There is no I element, and so forth, up to no mentality element, and also up to no element of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance, no exhaustion of ignorance, and so forth, up to no aging and death, no exhaustion of aging and death. Likewise, there is no suffering, origin, cessation, or path, no exalted awareness, no attainment, also no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide in the perfection of wisdom. Their minds have no obstructions and no fear. Passing out of beyond perversity, they attain the final nirvana. Also, all Buddhas reside perfectly in the three times, having relied upon the perfection of wisdom, became manifest complete Buddhas in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the equal, the unequal mantra, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, since it's not false, should be known as the truth. The mantra of perfection of wisdom is proclaimed, Tayatam Gata Gata Paragata Parasam Gati Bodhisoha. Shariputra, bodhisattva, great being, should train the profound perfection of wisdom like this. Then the Blessed One rose from that concentration, said to Superior Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, the great being, that he'd spoken well. Good O'Sullivan, just like that, since it's like that, just as you have revealed, in that way the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Venerable Shariputra, the Spirit of Velishvara, the Bodhisattva, the Great Being, the entire circle of disciples, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, demigods, and spirits, were delighted and highly praised, but when spoken by the Blessed One. Okay, just taking a moment to do a quick meditation again in Lama here. Let's take a moment to visualize ourselves seated in a wide open space. Ground lapis like lapis lazuli, warm, soft to the touch, comfortable to sit on. Beautiful cloudless blue sky above us. And on this huge, vast kind of transcendent plane here is all sort of the whole world of sentient beings, the whole universe and multiverse, I guess you could say, or chaosmos of sentient beings. So those closest to us in our own mandala are the ones seating right next to us here. So Father on our left, Father on our right, people we love the most behind us as support, and people we like the least or have issues with in front of us as objects of healing and compassion. And from there, people from all over the world, and we can think of people with all just here in the terrible war zones and conflicts. It's always that kind of way in samsara. But right now in 2024, springtime, we can think of a whole bunch of major conflicts going on in the world right now. Wars and genocides and political problems and dictatorships and tyrannies and, que sera, in the sense things never really change in samsara. There's always, the left hand hitting the right hand, so to speak. Unfortunately, everybody's sentient beings as a big family are always at war with each other and with themselves, which is why we need our awakening mind of bodhicitta here. Also think animals from the animal realm, all different little life forms in the natural world are here with us. Countless beings from the spirit world, from astral, ethereal, elemental planes. And celestial beings, gods, demigods, and the vast majority of beings being from the lower states of rebirth, beings from the hungry ghosts and hell realms, those suffering greatly and in a lot of pain and torment. But they're here with us in a happy way because we're all meditating together. Projected just like on a surface of water, like looking at the sun, reflection of the sun or moon on a lake. Having a vision of Dashita Pure Land here, beautiful Pure Land, Buddha realm or Buddha universe of the universal Buddhas, Buddha Shakyamuni, Maitreya Buddha, all the 1,000 Buddhas of this aeon, as well as the Buddha universe of the Buddha of wisdom, Manjushri, Dashita Pure Land or Gandhin Pure Land. It's absolutely gorgeous natural world with forests and lakes and mountains and so forth. And we see a little kind of like university town with all temples, monastic universities and so forth, shrines, beautiful Zen gardens and everything. And the central cathedral in the middle of town, the doors are open. We can see in beautiful Buddha Maitreya, the future Buddha, seated in on a throne like a chair, about to sort of stand up and sort of walk, sort of descend into our world to teach Buddhism, a new form of Buddhism in the coming years. He has a golden energy body, wearing a crown, beautiful silk robes and so forth, and jewelry. In his hands, in turn the wheel of Dharma Mudra, holding 2 white lotuses. And on his right, or our left, is the founder of the Kadam tradition, 11th century Tisha Dipankara Vijnana, beautiful sort of Indian master pandit who brought Buddhism to Tibet in the second wave of teachings. Again, 3 robes of a monk, sort of, he's from West Bengal, and he's got the turning the wheel of Lotus Mudra as well. Has a yellow pendant's cap. And on the other side, our right, or Maitreya's left, is Je Tsongkhapa, the founder of New Kadampa school, the Glupa or Gandhin tradition. And lotus position, the way we usually see him, in yellow robes of a monk, yellow pendant's cap, and entering the wheel of Dharma Mudra and holding 2 white lotuses. Now, Maitreya's heart, there's a beautiful golden eternal knot that then starts to become, turns into sort of a whole mass of beautiful white clouds like whipping cream. And on it is, again, is Je Tsongkhapa in a lion throne, lotus and moon seat, and sun seat. And in front of him are his 2 students. On his right or our left, Japa Gyatso, and on our right or his left, Kedrupje. And again, they're monks wearing 3 robes of monk and yellow penance cap, and they have the teaching mudra with their right hand, left hand. They have a dharma text at their lap. So taking refuge here, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha until I attain enlightenment. By the merit accumulated from practicing generosity and perfections, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha until I attain enlightenment. By the merit accumulated from practicing generosity and perfections, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha until I attain enlightenment. By the merit accumulated from practicing generosity and other perfections, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. Now, in our heart, generating love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. May all beings have happiness in its causes. May all beings be free from suffering in its causes. May all beings constantly dwell in joy transcending sorrow. May all beings dwell in equal love for both those close and distant. So now as we make this prayer, we can just feel that Je Tsongkhapa and his 2 students, Gyapsabje, which means kind of his regent, Japa Gyatso, was the first of his students to take over after Je Tsongkhapa went into peri-nirvana. And then Kedrupje, the 3 of them here, just as we make prayers, you just feel that from Maitreya's heart, just like I always say, like unrolling a carpet or a yoga mat, the clouds start to unfurl towards us, coming towards us. So it brings the 3 masters just a little bit above us and in front of us. And then there's sort of a train of clouds leading back into Maitreya's heart. So it's almost like a magic carpet. If we jumped on it and it would sort of fly back into Maitreya's heart, we just feel that these 3 lamas in their wisdom and compassion and power can take us right into the heart of our own Buddha nature, and the heart of Buddha Maitreya, the heart of Tashita Pure Land. And also that this land, Pure Land, in our sort of deluded world of samsara aren't separate. They're completely connected here. There's like a portal right here in our own lives to this beautiful, perfect place. From the heart of the protector of the hundreds of deities of joyful land, the peak of the clouds like a cluster of fresh white curd. Oh no, and Losangdrapa, king of the Dharma, please come to this place together with your 2 chief disciples. In the space before me on the lion throne, lotus and moon, the venerable Guru smiled with delight. Supreme field of merit from my mind of faith, please remain for 100 hands to spread the teaching. Your minds of wisdom realizing the full extent of objects of knowledge. Your eloquent speech is the ear ornament of the fortunate. Your beautiful bodies are ablaze with the glory of renown. I prostrate to you, whom to see, to hear, remember so meaningful. Placing water offerings, various flowers, sweet-smelling incense, light, scented water, and so forth, a vast cloud of offerings, both set out and imagined, offer to you, supreme field of merit. Whatever my non-virtues of body, speech, and mind, I've accumulated since time without beginning, especially transgressions of my 3 levels of vows. With great remorse, I declare each one from the depths of my heart. In this degenerate age of so for much learning and accomplishment, found the 8 worldly concerns you made your leisure and endowment meaningful. Protector from the very depths of my heart, I rejoice in the great wave of your deeds. From billowing clouds of wisdom and compassion, the space of your enlightened minds, O venerable holy gurus, please send in a rain of vast profound dharma, appropriate to the disciples of this world. May the Vajra body, created from the purity of clear light, free of the rising and setting of cyclic existence, but visible to the ordinary viewer only in its unsubtle physical form, stay on unchanging without waning until samsara ends. Through the virtues I've accumulated here, may the teachings of all living beings receive every benefit, especially in the essence of the teachings of Lama Je Tsongkhapa, shine forever. Short mandala offering, so offering beautiful purified universe, our hearts, to the gurus here. This mandala is built on a base resplendent with flowers, saffron, water, and incense, adorned with Mount Meru, the four-land sun and full moon. By offering this pure mandala to you, assembly of Buddhas here before me, may all living beings experience pure happiness and be reborn in the Pure Lands. Send forth this jewel mandala to you, precious gurus. Om Manam Guru Radha Mandala Community. Amen. So as we recite the long Mikseme Je Tsongkhapa mantra here, let's just visualize from the hearts of the three, well, actually just from Tashita Pure Land, from Buddha Maitreya, Tisha Tsongkhapa as two students, beautiful sunlight coming down like a sunbeam on us and all sentient beings. So it's just like, it's a dark, cloudy day and you're outside and all of a sudden the sun parts and you can just feel, sometimes you need to get this when you're on the plane coming in low, you can just see the sun sort of planing across like a big open space, just lighting everything up. Or just like if you sort of are hiking and you sort of look down in the valley and see between two mountains, the sun's shining. So it might be dark in other places, but all of a sudden everything's sort of lit up. We can just feel that all our ignorance and darkness of our selfishness and judgmental mind and delusions and so forth are all sort of chased away by this light, sort of sunbeams coming down from Je Tsongkhapa's two students, Maitreya and Atisha and so forth. Mig me se wei ter chen chen rei zi, dri me yen bei wang po jam belya, du pung ma lu chom se sang wei dan, gan chen ke bei sun ken song kappa. Lo sang tra pe sha bla so wan dem. Mig me se wei der chen chen rei zi. Dri me yen bei wang po cham pel yang. Du pung ma lu jom se sang wei dan. Gan chen ke pe sun ken song kappa. Lo sang tra pe sha bla so wan den. Mig me se wei ter chen chen rei zi. Dri me ken pe wang po cham pel yang. Du pung ma lu chom se sang wei dan. Gan chen ke pe sun ken song kappa. Lo sang dra pe sha bla so wan den. You are Avalokiteshvara, great treasure of unimaginable compassion, Manjushri, master of flawless wisdom, and Vajrapani, lord of the secret and story of hordes of Mars without exception. Tsongkhapa, crown jewel of the sages of the land of snows, low drop and make requests at your lotus feet. Now visualizing in her heart a beautiful, very small, about the size of a quarter, white 8 petaled lotus and a little white moon disk on it. It's like a landing pad. And we can just feel that now as we recite these 3 verses that we're going to absorb the whole merit field into us. Glorious and practice Guru, please come to the lotus and moon seat at my crown. In your great kindness, please remain with me. Bestow upon me the blessings of your body, speech, and mind. Glorious precious Guru, please descend the lotus and moon seat at my heart. In your great kindness, please remain with me. Grant me the common and supreme realizations. Glorious precious Guru, please remain the lotus and moon seat at my heart. In your great kindness, please remain with me. Please remain to achieve the essence of enlightenment. So we can feel that Tashita Pure Land starts to melt in the golden light like sunlight, dissolving into, like all the different Buddhas and holy beings there, dissolve into Tisha and Tsongkhapa, become balls of light and dissolve into Maitreya. And then he's just like a little sun that starts to come forward, sort of melting all the clouds, dissolving into Tsongkhapa. And now Japa Gyatso Kedrupche melt into light, golden light, like little suns, little stars melt into Je Tsongkhapa. And now he's in the sky, just alone. And then he becomes just like a little star, little bright light, a little sun. And just like a shooting star, but very slow, sort of comes to the crown of our head. Like it was like slow-mo golfing a hole in one. I don't want, maybe I shouldn't use, but just like slowly sort of comes down, enters our crown chakra and our central channel in front of our spine. And this little star starts to slowly descend till it goes right in the middle of that moon disk. And when it does, just feel that the lotus closes around it, just like a lotus closing up or tulip closing. You see two mantras start to turn around clockwise and counterclockwise. The Manjushri mantra, Murapatsanadi, and the Tsongkhapa mantra, his short mantra, Umaguru Vajradhara Samadakirti Siddhihum. And then this melts into light, just right into our heart. In particular, all Je Tsongkhapa, who is the embodiment of three Buddhas of wisdom, Manjushri, compassion, Avalokiteshvara, and Paravajrapani, all this energy is going directly into us. In particular, we can ask for blessings here, all this holy energy, to really sort of ripen the karma we have and just really enable our wisdom and skill and sort of pure compassion and intention to be able to study this text, Essence of Eloquence. And so as a prayer for our course, may we really understand just what the Buddha really taught, what he really meant, what he was really trying to, what we're really trying to do as Buddhists. That we liberate ourselves and all sentient beings from suffering. Okay, so we can just dedicate here by the blessings of all holy beings, in particular Je Tsongkhapa and all of our gurus, and Buddha Maitreya, the truth of karma, power of our pure spirit intention, and bodhicitta. May all of our dharma wishes be fulfilled. May all sentient beings reach full awakening. Okay, see you next time.